ever felt frustrated, overwhelmed, or stuck wasting time in admin instead of growing, leveraging, and scaling your business? Then this podcast is for you. Welcome to Delegate to Elevate, the podcast that's all about handing off what you don't need to do so you can focus on what you do best. So here's your host, Bonnie Schutz.
Hi, this is Bonnie Schutz, your host of Delegate to Elevate. Get shit done. I hope you are all doing awesome today. I would like to talk today about a subject that came up in something I saw online, and it really made sense to me, and I thought I would speak a bit more about it today. So obviously this podcast is about delegation, but if you really think about it, there's different phases of your business and there's different places in your mindset that you can be when it comes to delegation. And so because the word spectrum is used quite often these days, I really believe that there is truly a delegation spectrum. So I'd like to ponder it. It's kind of like aging. Maybe spectrum's a bad word. I don't know. Kind of like aging, but it's like, let's put it this way. First, you start out a baby, right? So you've never delegated before. You have absolutely no clue what to do, and you need to be trained, just like a baby. Learn how to eat, walk, talk, all the things. So that's level one of delegation. And you can be trained, just like a baby. That's number one. What comes next in life? What are you after a baby? You're a toddler, okay? This is when you start to think, wow, maybe I could get my mom to do this. So if I touch it or point to it, she's going to do it for me. So you'll touch it, you'll think about it, but I don't think you really have the mindset or the brain power at that point as a quote toddler to really understand delegation. You kind of get it and you kind of don't. So yeah, toddler would be the next level. So where I'm going with this is you need to reassess your mindset if you are thinking about delegating or outsourcing tasks in your business to somebody else. Let's keep going. Next, I would say from toddler, kid to tween, okay? Because that's a pivotal time of your life. So you have a bit more interest in getting somebody else to do things for you so that maybe you don't get in trouble or hurt, So you have a bit more interest in delving into the idea that maybe somebody else can do this for me. But you still truly can't understand the value of delegation. So you go from a baby to a toddler to a tween. There's a little bit of progress. And with each level of the spectrum that you're at, and I think of that Roy G. Biv, I don't know how old you are, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet are the colors of the rainbow, which I think is where they get the spectrum. I don't know if I quite have as many of those here, but maybe I'll have to think of a catchy acronym for this. But what comes next? So between a tween and a toddler, or after, between a toddler and a tween, after that comes a teen. So you freaking love the idea of not doing it. You are seriously considering all types of ways that you can get somebody else to do this because you do not enjoy it. You are still deciding the parts of things that you are passionate about and trying to pass high school, and you're delegating your homework to your friend. So you're getting a little taste of it. You're really seriously deciding and considering, I think I could give this to somebody else. It doesn't bring me joy. So your mindset is shifting as a teen. It really is. And that would take me to the next level. So you go through the teen years, you find out, yeah, I could get some other people to do things for me. I could get my kid brother to feed the dog, take out the trash. I'll give him $20. Boom. This is kind of cool. I like this delegation thing. So you seriously really are starting to understand it and the power of it. So next you're a young adult. You're either working or you're in college, let's say. So you like the idea, and based on your teen years, you like the idea of not doing it all. You're kind of conflicted because you feel like it's a time in your life that you should be doing it all, or at least learning how and finding your passions. But you really start to seriously consider other types of delegation in your life. And as I go through these, think of all the steps that in a business too, how they can relate and they can correlate to these levels of life and the delegation spectrum that they fall into. So you could even think of them as if the life of your business, a baby business to a toddler business to a tween to a teen to a young adult and so on. So here we are sitting in this young adult, we're in college or we're working a job, and we'll use me for example. I didn't go to college right away. I went to work when I was 16, and I worked and I became crew leader, Taco Bell. and I seriously loved the idea that when I became crew leader, that I could delegate tasks to others with that power. I was still immature, kind of a giddy about it. But in the back of my head, I was learning and growing into the realization that I had a choice. I could do something myself just to get it done because I'm worried about somebody that may fail if I give it to them and that might reflect badly on me. Or I could lean into it. I could say, I've been granted this title or this power to give things to somebody else. And therefore that gets me to the end quicker and gives me more time to do the things I like about my work or my studies if I'm in college. Somebody else can do this. Somebody else can work at the gym at the college. Somebody else can work in the cafeteria. And maybe I'll do some of their homework and they'll pay me $50 and then I have more time to do my home. I don't know. Whatever. Sorry, not a college girl. Anyway, I'm just trying to figure that out in my head, but I'm also equating it to a part in my business when I was a quote unquote young adult, where I understood that when I was a teen, in that teen phase of my business, that I could delegate. I was considering it and I was really thinking about where it would fit. But now I'm getting a little bit closer, and there are things I like to do in my business and there are things I just do not like at all. So I plotted it out. I'm an adult. I got this. I knew what I liked, what I didn't, and I'd heard from people around me. Let's say if we were in college, we heard from professors, we heard from the straight A students, how they got there, how they did what they do. They have TAs, right? And they have what they call the resident hall people that monitors. Anyway, going way off kilt here. But yeah, I still like to I love to use analogies, and I kind of picture life and business are so cohesive and so joined in tandem, right? All right. I digress. Young adult. All right. I just decided I'm smart enough. I'm old enough. I am mature enough in my life, in my business. Keep that on the other side to know that I'm good at some things, but not everything. Okay. So next, I am progressing out of college into life, into marriage, into living on my own, into doing what I have to do to get shit done. I'm working. I'm either going on to extend my studies, whatever it may be. Maybe I'm having a family. So at this point, I call this the parent and or midlife, which midlife has a whole nother spectrum of whatever you consider midlife. So you're done with doing it all. You're just done. You've been doing it for a decade or so, right? When you were a young adult. So you know you need to delegate things to keep your sanity. So you start to explore it. You're in this exploration period of your life/business. You've been letting some things go to other people or other services, and you've had some failures, but you've learned from them. So you're like, ain't never going to do that again. But you do it again and it fails, but that's okay. Sometimes it takes more than once to sink in. So then you realize, I need to find the right people. And this is super important. So take yourself out of the life and into the business. You need to find the right people, and voila. Delegation becomes your elevation in life and in your business. Either way, just start to dig into your head of how cohesive life and business really are. And maybe that's where they get that whole work-life balance phrase, right? Because they're so similar. That's like the prime zone. Parent midlife is, maybe from 30 to retirement, if you ever want to retire, because that takes me into the next part of delegation, which could be your encore career. Shit, maybe you're 62 years old and you're like, I'm going to try something new, something a little bit more passionate about. And so you kind of miss the work life, which is cool. Me, I think I'm pretty excited about retiring someday, but that's a whole nother Oprah. But say you're in that phase, not quite at retirement. You really want to keep working, but you found some passions. You're kind of bored if you're retired and you kind of miss a work life. Maybe you sold your business. Maybe you inherited in your life some money. So you're taking on those passion projects. But what I find at times is people really in their encore careers or their encore profession, whatever it may be, that second act, they say, they start to miss being able to delegate, because if they full on go for whatever they're going for and don't have that ability, they miss it. And so if it gives you any hope in life or business, that encore career, go live it. Enjoy the parts of it that you love. And if there's the logistical, crappy, not so fun parts of it, delegate that shit. Delegate to elevate in life and business. You can absolutely do it. Honestly, it is not impossible. So no matter the spectrum that you are on in the delegation of life or business, baby, toddler, tween, teen, young adult, parent, midlife, or encore, think of those as your little ways to really come to terms on your readiness to delegate. And if you're there, you're there. If you're ready to try, you're ready to try. If you can be honest with yourself and think, yeah, I get it. I'm just not really there yet. I'm not mature enough in my business, or whatever the case may be. I keep intertwining them because I think that's important. That is the work-life balance. All right. That is my thoughts for the day. The delegation spectrum. Take some time and think about that. And if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe and follow and stay tuned for the next episode of Delegate to Elevate. Get shit done.
So that's it for today's episode of Delegate to Elevate. Head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $15,000 private VIP day with Bonnie herself. Be sure to head on over to delegatetoelevatepodcast.com. That's with the number 2. And pick up a free copy of Bonnie's gift and join us on the next episode.